Hi all, it's time for your space report, my selection of some space-related events that seemed relevant to me. This week we have news from the Ingenuity drone bug fix, the fueling of Artemis I, Crew 2 or Alpha about to launch, and of course some Starship news. But for once, I will start with some ranting of my own. A paper on the French news website La Tribune revealed this week the French government sent a letter to the European Commission to advocate for more ambitious European space policy. France says, given the worldwide but mostly US competition, the new Ariane 6 and Vega-C rockets are doomed to fail, even before their first launch, because of ill-inspired technical choices. It is not hard to understand why. SpaceX, but also all the new space companies, have cheaper launchers and offer a faster schedule to put a payload into orbit. The French government is also shooting at the obligation for Arianespace to hire subcontractors in all the contributing states, even though it doesn't make any industrial sense. And it goes on advocating for cheap, efficient, and reusable launchers. If I were to stop there, it would seem totally legit, right? Well, the thing is, before becoming France's current president, Emmanuel Macron was the minister in charge of the industry and therefore made all these choices he is now attacking. I am willing to admit he was not the only one. But I find this lessons giver tone hard to swallow. Let's hope Europe will see past this political maneuver and take the right decisions to produce competitive launchers again. NASA just announced yesterday the results of the HLS selection, and the sole winner is SpaceX with its Lunar Starship. While the committee was pleased to see Elon Musk pursue actual development at Boca Chica instead of the 3D renderings by the other contestants, it was Gwynne Shotwell's clever move to lower the price to something NASA could actually afford that ultimately won the battle. And they really crushed it. Rated outstanding in management, SpaceX's price was the lowest, followed by Blue Origin far behind, and Dynetics even further. Some members of Congress immediately attacked the decision, saying it was made prior to the arrival of the new Biden-chosen NASA administration. But in reality, SpaceX's offer was the only one that could fit NASA's current budget. Let's have a thought for Jeff Bezos while we look at this new render of the Lunar Starship. On the Starship front now, SN15 successfully passed the pressure tests this week. An hydraulic ram was installed onto the launch pad and SN15 was placed on it to test its new structure against any potential weakness. The hydraulic ram was simulating the thrust of the three Raptor's engines during this procedure. First, a simple ambient pressure test was conducted to check for leaks, and then a cryo test to see if the prototype could handle such low temperatures. And it did pass the test with flying colors. Next step will be to remove the now unnecessary hydraulic ram and attach the Raptors before going to the static fire test. And while SN15 was on the launch pad, the SpaceX crew just casually added a few thermal protection tiles on the side, demonstrating how easy they are to attach. They definitely are different from the space shuttle tiles. By the way, I just made a whole video about all the differences between SN15 and its predecessors, and what motivated those changes. If you are interested in Starship development and haven't seen it yet, you should definitely check it out. There's a link over here. On the construction site, there is something going on with this strange rig built around the Starship nose cone. It is believed to be a test rig that will be used to simulate the forces experimented by the spaceship during MAX-Q on atmospheric re-entry. At some point, the vehicle will experience a few Gs of decelerations from its little wings, and the resulting forces will inevitably bend the spacecraft. The trick will be to make sure it will not break during that rough time, and the test rig will help achieving that on the ground. Endeavour was used for the Demo 2 mission with Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley and demonstrated the first crewed launch and docking to the ISS from USS soil since the space shuttle. At the end of its flight, it splashed down in the Gulf of Mexico near Pensacola, Florida, and its white paint was quite burned by the re-entry heat. 6 months later, the spaceship has a new coat of paint and a good cleanup and is ready to go. A few modifications were made between the two flights. First, a bit extra propellant for the Super Draco abort motors is loaded, which means better safety in case of a pad abort and also improves the ability of the rocket to handle stronger winds, therefore improving launch availability. Also, the outer structure has been strengthened to better handle that second splash when the vehicle bounces out of the water. The launch is currently scheduled for next Thursday, April the 22nd. By the way, if that was really useful what I just shared with you, then I would love it if you would give this video a like. Just click the like button and thank you very much. The US-built Orion Capsule and a Europe-made service module for the uncrewed Artemis I first mission around the Moon has begun. Like most spacecraft, the Orion Capsule and service module are using monomethyl hydrazine, a very toxic but very convenient and easy to store propellant. Artemis I launch is still planned for November the 4th. Real quick, ESA's Copernicus program just worked with Google Earth to implement their collection of historical observations into the software. You can now watch the evolution of many places in the world according to the Copernicus observations easily and create time lapses. Last week I was talking about a potential flight of the Ingenuity helicopter on Monday the 12th, right on time for the other anniversaries, but sadly a small incident happened and the deadline could not be met. The incident appears to be software related. The flight computers couldn't boot up in time when switched to flight mode and the safety switched the helicopter back to ground operations. JPL says the fix is easy, but the process of implementing it to the drone will be long. First step is to test it independently multiple times to ensure a critical bug wasn't added with the modification. Then, the code has to be sent to the Perseverance rover during a communication session, and only then the rover will be able to send it to the drone. Next, the drone will switch to the new software and the test will be able to resume. JPL said they will announce a new flight date next week. During that time off, the Perseverance rover is doing some science and is prepping up its MOXIE experiment. MOXIE is destined to demonstrate the production of methane and oxygen from the Martian atmosphere, which in a few years will be used to produce rocket fuel on Mars. Before I leave you, a quick reminder that the European Space Agency is looking for new astronauts, both with and without disabilities. Check my last space report in the link here and below if you want more information about it. And that wraps up this week's space report. If you liked it, be sure to subscribe to be notified of the next video. On your left is the video the YouTube algorithm has chosen for you, and on your right are my other space reports. See you next week for the second Mars colonization video and hopefully some good news from Mars and Boca Chica. This was Getting to Space, signing off.